Again, welcome everyone, and thank you for attending. Let's move on to our first speaker today. That is Alex Danelich. Let me give a brief introduction to Danelich. He has over 15 years of diversified leadership experience with oilseeds industry, spanning engineering, project management, product line management, and commercial roles in a global setting. He has significant experience in process development and implementation, as well as strategy development to enable growth working with global teams. Mr. Danelich is currently responsible for Crown's specialty segment globally, and we want to welcome him today as our first speaker. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Alex.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Danelich. Thank you for the introduction, Larry. So I work for Crown Ironworks, and today I'd like to discuss how the pilot plant and specifically our innovation center can enable and help with various new innovation, process development, and optimization projects that you may have. My current function is to lead our specialty group, and being an extraction company, or primarily focused on an extraction company, the specialty group is focused on specialty extraction. In today's talk, I'll chat a little bit about what specialty is, at least the way we see it for us, as well as what capabilities that we could offer or our customers could utilize. And then I'll go through some of the case studies that showcase some of the stories where we worked with customers and how that enabled them to succeed and bring their projects to life. So to begin with, I'd like to talk a little bit about what our specialty is and or what it means, at least for us, and some of the subsegments there. So for Crown specialty, we break it up into it's really a lot of things, but we'd like to organize it around three primary things. In today's environment, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about plant-based proteins, and so Crown plays a big role in the plant-based proteins. We've been a big player for soy protein concentrates, and as well as canola rapeseed protein concentrates, and involved in a number of others. We also develop and provide hemp processing technology, ranging from CBD oil to hemp seeds and to hemp oil. And then we have what we call the specialty other. This is basically all other non-standard specialty extraction technologies. And what we call by other, it's non-standard oil seeds. The standard oil seeds we can consider soy, canola, and sunflower, with the traditional process of hexane extraction to make the meal. And in the specialty other, we handle any novel solvent or different process, or a different product. And we subcategorize that into food and beverages, nutraceutical, pharmaceutical, fibers, polymers, waxes, as well as various specialty chemicals. And so over the years, we worked with all kinds of products, a lot of, that we all use every day, like coffees, teas, and orange juices, and as well as in the pharmaceutical and nutraceutical arena, we work with rosemary extraction, marigolds, alfalfa, lupins, etc., and many others. We work with orange pulps, onion pulps, coal waxes, and silica gels, calcium carbonates, and numerous other applications. And so, and that's how we think of specialty in our world, at least in the oilseed world, is anything that doesn't fall under those three traditional seeds we handle in our little division. And being specialty, we are connected at the hip to a pilot plant innovation center, because almost anything that comes to our group or any customer that we talk with has something new and different, something that we probably haven't fully investigated or perhaps have some experience, but don't have all the details that the customer may be looking for. And so for that reason, we are connected very closely with our innovation center, a big part of which is a pilot plant. Essentially, everything has to be tested for all the reasons that I've just discussed. And it's both for customer's sake and for Crown's sake, so that we can gain understanding of the process, so we can provide the robust equipment to meet the customer expectation, and for customer to also gain confidence that what they potentially would be buying from us or building the plant, that it will work and they deliver on the expectations they have. Our facility is located in US, in Minnesota, in our headquarters here. And here we are able to develop, to test, innovate, as well as custom process in a real world environment prior to making full scale investments. So we really have a facility that has ranges from R&D to development area to then a miniature full scale production that was designed and built to look to mimic as best as we could to what we sell. It's controlled from a PLC system with data historians, and it's a highly instrumented system, so you can collect and gather a lot of data and touch and feel what the plant may look like. Some of our capabilities include also so we do process development, and we many times start from raw materials and take it all the way to the final product, whatever that may be. And we subcategorize our customers into three main categories: those that have an idea, perhaps they've done some work on a bench scale and would like to see if that's a viable idea and if it can be commercialized. And that's where really we come in and look at that idea with the commercialization lens in mind, and to see if it's scalable and economical way to make that idea in reality. And so for that, we have our expertise, and we have our pilot plant that's fully equipped with various extractors, both percolation and immersion extractors that I'll talk a little bit about later. We have the capability to also optimize operations and then provide training. And the second category is the customers that we call scale up, that already have operations. They put together the process, that potentially have a product already on the market, but the process might not be continuous, or may not be very efficient, and might not be of the scale that they'd like it to be. And this is where we really bring a lot of value of making a continuous process, scalable continuous process with high efficiency. And the third category of customers that we tailor well to is those that already have good established operations and would like to expand their operations, add facilities, expand or gain efficiencies, test additional innovations they may have in mind, or develop some innovations in collaborations with us. And so all of those features is what the combination of our expertise, experience, and our facility provide to get you to market quicker and successfully. So some of the capabilities we have specifically in a pilot plant, again, we are primarily an extraction company, and so the heart of the process typically involves some kind of extractor. And so we have several extractors in our facility. One of them is what we call an immersion technology, where the product is fully submerged in the liquid. And then we have a percolation extractor, where the product is not submerged, but it's being sprayed by the liquid, and then the liquid percolates through the product and then extracts the extractables, depending on what they are and what the solvent is. All of our technology is typically continuous, counter-current, to gain all the efficiencies and minimize energy requirement. Very robust, reliable equipment with a lot of history and experience to go with that. As you know, and so there are many examples where we've utilized our equipment, but it ranges from various oil seeds, like I mentioned previously, to proteins, nutraceuticals, various products of reactions and washing, waxes, botanicals. I mean, and we don't take, the important thing to point out, we don't take these machines off the shelf or some standards. Really, everything is tailored designed. We optimize the internals, the screens, the way the equipment moves to fit the application specifically. There is nothing that's just generic or standard besides the concepts themselves. In addition, in our facility, one of the big value proposition that we bring is in drying and desalvatization. This is where typically our customers work with some solvent that is, costly and could be flammable, toxic, or important in some other ways that it needs to be fully recovered in the process. And so we have drying and desalvatization equipment that we can test and simulate to make sure that it's appropriate, but that it fully recovers, or essentially fully recovers, your solvent in an efficient and an economical way. And now we have a number of different desalvatizer dryers. We have like traditional, what we call DT, or desalvatizer toaster. We have DC dryer cooler. We have a flash dryer, and several other techniques like DDD, down draft desalvatizer, and vacuum desalvatization, etc., that we can work with for depending on what the application is. Some of the examples that we worked with in the past with our desalvatization drying equipment involve silicas and fillers and pulp, toners, polymers. I mean, you name it, we probably looked at it, or at least have some understanding about it. And then how does it all come together? So we typically, sometimes we get involved in a specific piece of equipment and then the customer has their proprietary process developed where it plugs in. But many times we get involved where the good portion of the process or full process gets developed with the collaboration with us in our facility, our R&D and engineering groups. And that's really where, again, we bring a lot of value, is that end-to-end solution. We also pride ourselves in a life cycle approach where we start many times with a concept, an idea, or a project that the customer comes to us with. Then we go through all the development stage, feasibility testing, proof of concept, confirmation of concept, but then the equipment gets designed, the facility gets built, it starts operating, and then we're there every step of the way, even after that, where the facility gets expanded, if there are challenges that need to be resolved, innovations that need to be implemented, and then the customer gets ready for the next installation. And we call that a life cycle approach, where we truly there every step of the way and provide that different type of support depending on the stage of the project. And so from a full process solution, end-to-end solution, we've been involved in many different applications between plant protein concentrates and algae and antioxidants, and we have installations for omega-3 and petroleum, even petroleum products, where we extract, for example, asphalt from shingles and things like that in the pigments application, and many others. And all of that, we take that with a sustainability mindset, because we realize that the energy is of utmost importance in order to make, one, the process economical, also that it's environmentally friendly and safe for the operators, safe for the environments, and for always with health and safety in mind. And that's our key measures when we take on the projects and evaluate its feasibility. Not only is it technically possible, but also is it economically viable, and also is it safe and sustainable for many years to come. And so that's something that just overarching all the activities that we do. And I'd like to talk through several case studies that we've done over the years with this approach, and utilizing our innovation center and our pilot plant in order to enable the success to our customers. And through these case studies, I'll try to showcase several of our capabilities and different capabilities that we bring to the table. For example, the first case study that's up on the screen currently, this is where the customer developed a variety of different soybean products through genetic modifications, and again, in today's environment, many times we get involved to enabling the customers to put the best product on the market from a protein standpoint in a plant-based setting. And so the customer really wanted to evaluate all the different varieties that they came up with and see which one might be the most successful for the end users. And in order to do that, we needed to provide a substantial quantity of products so that they could do feeding trials, end user testing, if evaluation, is this the right variety and is the right bean. And in this instance, we've offered our custom processing capability, where we needed to fully segregate the various varieties and products and operate on a continuous scale in a continuous mode that's representative of the facilities out there and the product that could be produced by the facilities out there, and provide the fairly significant quantities of each of these varieties, ranging from a ton to multiple tons to greater than a couple, 3 tons of each of the variety. And again, we needed to do it in such a way that it was representative. The products were fully segregated and provide significant quantities. And so we introduced our custom processing capability, where we were able to run our facility on 24/5 basis type operations. We don't typically run weekends in running our continuous full plant. And so the customer was very happy with the end results and the quality of product that we were able to produce, and again, with the commercialization and lens in mind. Another example was also in plant-based protein, but a completely different project, where the customer was coming to us and wanted to come to develop some new way of making. In this case, it was a soy protein concentrate, for example, a better and more efficient process, and perhaps a better product as well. And they had a number of ideas. It's always all confidential. We always operate under non-disclosure agreements. But the concept was that they wanted to come up with a new process that they were developing that could put them in a better competitive position with some of the other producers and suppliers, both from a process standpoint as well as the product standpoint. And they wanted to develop that process, and they also were looking for a partner that would not only help them to test ideas and help them develop the process, but also then help them commercialize it and then support that process throughout the life cycle of this facility. They were really looking for that true partner, and not just a bench top or a few pieces of equipment where they could that could help them develop it. And that's what, again, we were able to offer in that case is a partner, and then also a capability to try to test and explore the feasibility and modify and fine-tune the ideas that they had. And so what are the results of that endeavor? We've done significant testing for them. We've done significant modeling. So we've collaborated not with just the pilot plant group, but with our R&D and engineering group to pull all that together and to provide that well-rounded solution that the customer was looking for, so that we could explore, validate concept, again, with a sustainability mindset as well, and economical and commercial mindset when we approached it. And as a result, we've entered in a collaboration type agreement where they have access to our equipment, to our staff, to Crown's expertise to develop, to carry out a lot of this developmental and engineering type work, and then hopefully to build a facility that will provide them with profits for many years to come. Another example where we worked with an algae for another customer for a completely different application and completely different ask in that case. Customer wanted to develop a process of processing algae and extracting oil from algae with ethanol in that particular case as to be used as a solvent. Algae by nature is extremely fine powder, and typically neither traditional technologies, extraction technologies would apply here. And those traditional extraction technologies is, like I mentioned, either immersion or percolation type extractors with a number of variations, but at a high level, it's immersion and percolation, and neither one, when you work with really fine powders, is really suitable for that. And so customer came to us and asked us to develop something that would work efficiently, again, in a continuous fashion, and on a significant scale. And they wanted to make sure that in that case that ethanol was used as a solvent. And so we took that project on, and we came up with a way to agglomerate the product first before we could feed. So we found a way to work, for example, make an expander work with this product, and it's an agglomeration technique so that the extraction technology could actually handle it. And then we developed the extractor. We were able to figure out what the optimal extraction time, and how much solvent is needed, and temperatures and ratios and all of that stuff. That's just starting with extraction, and then to tie the entire process together so that the solvent could be recovered, recycled, and reused back in the process, and came up with that whole process. And we were able to test it first to feasibility test and pilot testing, and make ourselves comfortable that it will work, as well as, of course, the customer comfortable. The outcome was that the process was developed. It was it was proven, and then the customer did proceed with the purchase of equipment, and then they've installed the facility, and the plant is currently running quite successfully, and it met their objectives and goals, and it was a really profitable endeavor. And and more importantly, we are continuing to collaborate with the customer, try to engage and help them when some challenges come up or new innovation ideas come up, where they'd like to test new different pieces of equipment, and with our capabilities, before they introduce it on a larger scale, we can model it and then test it and debottleneck it prior to that introduction. Another case study is a completely different technology. In this case, I spoke a little bit about extraction technology, our developmental capabilities, our custom processing. In this case, it was drying technology is what the customer was looking for. They were looking to develop a process for citrus pulp, in this case, to make a functional food-grade fiber additive. It's typically it's typically a waste fiber in this case, and then they wanted it to be dried and ground, and what was key to them, that it wouldn't impact the absorbency of that fiber. And so what we were able to bring to the table is our flash drying technology, and specifically milling flash drying technology, where we could reduce the particle size and dry the product at the same time. And again, before it would be introduced on a large scale, we were able to test the concept, do simulations, make a customer comfortable that it's technologically viable, economically viable, and also can be scaled and continuously operated. And so the testing was complete, the data was collected, and then again the customer proceeded with purchasing equipment, installed it, and the plant is running successfully, and it really met the objectives that they had. And again, this is one of those where we don't just install and fade away, but we stay in touch and continue collecting data and helping the customer to succeed. So that's on a very high level. Just wanted to introduce how our innovation center, our pilot plant, can enable customers to succeed. And again, we tailor to different clientele, all the way from the initial concept idea, perhaps from benchtop, to those customers who are looking for scale up, and others who are looking to expand and really expand their capabilities that they already have, with an efficient, sustainable, safe lens in mind, and also with by introducing our life cycle approach, where we collaborate with different groups and stay there and provide value every step of the way, from ideation all the way through operation and then expansion and gaining additional capabilities. So thank you so much for your time and for giving me the opportunity to talk today. And I'd like to take a few questions if the audience has any.
Hi, Alex. I just had one question here. It's really a great concept to talk about scale up. And so imagine that I'm a researcher and I have an idea, and I've probably gone to the bench and I've developed a proof of concept. At what point in this whole development process is it best to get Crown involved with that discussion? And about what point in my scale up do I need to start thinking about how much material I might need for trials and testing to make this a profitable venture for an idea that I have? So.
Sure. No, that's a great question. Really, that's probably a good idea to begin those discussions once you feel that your idea that you have on your bench, you feel comfortable enough that it has some potential, and then you're starting to think, well, maybe I need to put together some apparatus, some process to see, is it viable? Sometimes on bench it looks fine, but it may not scale or commercialize economically and effectively. Typically, a good time to start talking with us, at least, is once you've done enough testing to convince yourself that it looks like it's going to go, that you may have spoken to a few customers and you feel like there is interest in your product and you really might meet customers' demand. And that's where we start, like you mentioned, that would be a great time to begin the conversation and start talking on how much material would you even need to test. And so then you can evaluate, is this something you can produce on your bench? Do we need to maybe put something together from a raw material standpoint to produce at our facility? We start having those conversations and see what makes sense. But typically a good point to start is once you've done enough testing to get a feeling that this is probably going to be something you'd like to drill more into, and that there is interest in the marketplace for your product.
Thank you. All right, we have another question here. It says, what is the hexane extractor size, tons per hour or day for soybeans?
Wow. Yes, thank you for the question. Like I mentioned, what we do at Crown, we don't have anything off the shelf, and we custom custom developed to what the customers asks for. But when you ask about soybeans and hexane extraction, that's what we call the well-developed traditional process, or one of the traditional processes. And so we've been doing that for a long time, and our extractor range from very small, a few 100, 500 ton a day, which is considered for soybean quite small, to all the way to 8 to 10,000 ton a day type extraction. So, yeah. But it's really tailor-made to whatever the customer needs.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Let me look in here in the question box and see if there are any more questions that I have. I had one more question here, and that is, if you looked at the time frame, kind of to get set an expectation about how long this scale up process and development might take. If we look back at one of your case studies, could you kind of maybe walk us through a timing, kind of start to finish, so we understand how that process works on a timing scale?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, great question. And so that's and it depends. And I really don't like answering a question like that, but I'll qualify that. It depends on which continuum and which type of customer you're at. If you are a customer that just has an initial idea in mind and needs to go through all the testing from start to finish, it will take quite a bit of time. And so, for example, I'm working on a project currently with the team on that type of idea, and we've been working on that project for not continuously, because we're trying to tailor to a number of customers, but we have slots of time that we work with that for the last 6 months probably, and we are getting to that scale up type thing where we've moved away from bench top, and we are now working on the not the big equipment but large equipment. We are starting to test efficiencies and what the real process may look like, and that took us roughly 6 months to get there, and we expect the next maybe 3 to 6 months where we will get comfortable that the project is viable and commercially scalable, and where we make those few tons of material for the customer to start testing and make sure that the product meets their end customer expectations. So it varies, but I would say it could take us up to a year when we start from the idea standpoint. When the customer already has a process in mind, they put something together maybe in their pilot facility or in their facility, it may not be efficient, may not be continuous, but they have something operating. They already have a lot of understanding about the process of what can and cannot be done. They have real good understanding of the product because they already have it on the marketplace, what the value it commands, etc. Those tend to go faster because we already have a lot of a background and a lot of starting points. Again, it really all depends, but that may be 3 to 6 month type of endeavor, depending on how much testing and everything has to go through. And then the other subcategory, the customer that already have established operation, we're looking to expand, maybe test some new innovative ideas that they have to introduce in new. Those tend to go much faster. Those testings may take a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, and then we evaluate together and decide go, no go, no. So it depends where you are in continuum, but I would say it starts from 6 to a year type endeavor and it shrinks down to maybe 3 to 6 months type thing to a few months. I hope that gave you some idea. Larry, I think you're on mute. I'm sorry.
We have one other follow-up question from an attendee about your hexane extractor, the pilot size. We'll get to that in the panel discussion.